Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about 3 critical mistakes that a lot of leaders make and how to avoid them to be a more effective leader in whatever area that God has called you. Hey guys, today we're going to look at these 3 critical mistakes that a lot of leaders make. Let's start right away with the very first one. Number 3 is the failure to communicate. Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship, whether it's in family, as a parent, as a husband or a wife, to your ministry as a leader, to your business, if you're a business leader. It's important that you understand the vital nature of communication. Leaders often communicate poorly, they communicate in a way that's not clear, or they fail to communicate at all. There's what you're saying and there's what people are understanding, and we need to bring those two together. We've got to have a healthy culture of communication where there's honest and open dialogue. You've got to be willing to receive feedback. You've got to be willing to encourage that environment to be able to bring healthy, positive feedback both to yourself and to others. You also need to communicate expectations. A lot of people get frustrated because others aren't doing what they're expecting, but they have failed in the first place to communicate their expectations up front. So you can't get frustrated when you haven't explicitly stated what your expectations are. Now that can be on a smaller scale with events, that can be on larger team dynamics, but you've got to clearly communicate responsibilities, visions, goals. You've got to communicate your expectations so that others can more effectively carry them out when necessary. But it's very important that you start with healthy communication, that you encourage healthy communication, and that you receive the feedback. You might not like it. Sometimes we don't want to get our feelings hurt and we don't want to find out that what we're doing isn't effective, but it's important that we encourage healthy communication. Make sure you as the leader are setting the tone by communicating clearly and effectively to those on your team. Mistake number 2 is the failure to address issues before they grow. Anything that you don't address or confront will grow. Any issue or problem that you don't address now, today, will become tomorrow's crisis. So it's important that you address things now, even though it may be inconvenient, even though it may cause you to get outside your comfort zone. Most people don't like confrontation. So it's important, though, that you address things before they become larger. Anything you don't deal with, you give silent permission to. You give it permission to remain. Now, this could be an attitude, this could be negativity, this could be a negative person on your team. I found the hard way that it only takes one person to poison the entire team. It only takes one negative or critical person to shape the attitudes of everyone around them. You, as a leader, are responsible to address things in your family, in your ministry, in your business, before it becomes a larger issue. The Bible tells us that the little foxes spoil the vine. It's the little things that we have a tendency to ignore that rob us of our fruitfulness. So as a leader, you have the responsibility to address things before they grow. Now, make sure that when you do address them, you do it in a loving and life-giving way. Confrontation should always be for the benefit of everyone involved. But there are times where you have to address things and be firm with them because you have to protect the overall culture and vision that God has placed in your hands. Mistake number 1 is the failure to invest in other people. The number 1 responsibility of every leader is to not only protect those they lead, but to nurture their advancement and growth and development. Your job as a parent is to see that your kids succeed and go further than you. As a spiritual leader, a pastor, a teacher, whatever area God has called you, your responsibility is to disciple others, to cause them to grow in their faith and develop, to draw close to Jesus, to make them dependent on God. As a business leader, your responsibility is, of course, to grow your business, but don't just grow bottom lines, don't just grow inventory, don't just grow your client base, grow people. Make sure you invest. Take time to invest in other people. Take time to develop them and nurture them and do things that are for their benefit, because wherever you plant seed, you will receive a harvest. But a lot of times as leaders, we expect a harvest where we haven't invested, where we haven't planted. We're making withdrawals from relationships that we have not poured into. And we're communicating demands, or we're communicating even the expectations like I talked about, or we're confronting issues, but we didn't first do the hard work of taking time to invest in other people. Now, it's very important that we guard how we manage our time as leaders. That means that we've got to be careful to invest where there's going to be the most fruitfulness. I had a conversation one time with a couple members of my team, and I learned something about my own leadership that needed to grow, because I had a conversation with them and I told them, listen, I haven't been meeting with you, and the reason is you just don't have enough drama. I found that most of my time was spent with people that were difficult, or that were having issues, or were having relationship problems, and I was spending all my time trying to convince people that they wanted to be a part of the team, rather than taking the time I needed to invest in those that already had the vision, that already were a healthy part of the team. It's important that you put out fires. It's important that you address problems. But the first and foremost responsibility you have is to make an investment in those that are around you, investment in those that already support you, and take time sowing into good ground. Take time to develop those. It's easy for us as leaders to just see somebody that's doing well, that's thriving, that's even supportive, and let them go and not take time to really invest in them and spend all of our time putting out the fires and all of our time dealing with difficult people. You can't ignore difficult problems or difficult people, but you've got to make sure that all your time isn't devoted there. Don't just spend all of your time with the low fruit, low yield crop. You've got to make sure that you take time where there's going to be effectiveness and fruitfulness. That's very vital. So today, those were 3 common mistakes that both I've made and I've seen other leaders make that I want to encourage you to grow and develop in. If you have any questions or comments, maybe you've got some thoughts of areas that you see a lot of leaders making mistakes, I want to encourage you to leave a comment with this video. Make sure if you enjoy this video to leave a thumbs up. If you want more content about leadership and even Bible study, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I love you guys. Thanks for watching this video. Have a great day.